Sounds great. Thank you again for having me.
Hello, 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 everyone. This is Sia Knight, and welcome to Lessons in Savvy Living. We have real women, real dogs, real stories,
Yes.
and real lessons. And right now we have
Awesome.
Marina Villatoro. Did I say that correct, Marina?
Yes,
Okay,
you did. Actually, you did. A lot of people don't
wonderful.
say that right.
Oh, okay. That 3 years of Spanish back in the 80s came in handy.
Paid off.
Yes, it did. It did. So this is an interesting setup here because I'm actually talking. I'm in the United States, and Marina is not. Where are you in the world, Marina?
I live in Antigua, Guatemala.
In
So we're in.
Guatemala. So this podcast is truly worldwide. And the goal of the podcast was to make sure that women in particular had a place or a space to connect, learn from, and get inspiration from other women. And we have a very interesting guest today. I'm not going to tell you who she is. First, she will start off by telling us 3 things that people should know about her.
Okay. Well, hi. My name is Marina Villatoro, and so 3 interesting facts about me. Well, I was born in the USSR, so I speak Russian fluently. I grew up in the US, speak English fluently, and obviously now I've been an expat in Central America for almost 20 years, so I speak Spanish fluently. So basically, I'm trilingual. I have been an entrepreneur for many, many years, 20 years, and online at this point for over 12 years. I have 2 businesses online, and I organize a TEDx with the kids, one of the only ones in the world. There you go.
Oh, say that again. You organize. Say it again.
I am a TEDx organizer, but one of the only ones in the world because I did it with kids. Not many people do. Actually, I think only one other place has done it with kids.
Oh, very interesting. I learned a lot just from that little introduction. That's why I do that. I'm like, oh, USSR.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So, but that's not why we're talking today. I wanted to talk to you, Marina, because you have a wealth of knowledge. And in this 30 minutes or so, you're going to tell us your story. You're going to tell us about day trading. Day trading.
Yes.
So lay it on me. I've got my paper, my pencil. I'm ready to learn. How did you get started with it? What is day trading? I'm going to turn over the floor to you.
Sounds good. So basically, day trading, just a really quick understanding, it's obviously working with the financial markets. There's many, many ways to do it. But day trading is strictly you are in and out of all of your positions within the same day. A lot of people know they've heard of investing or, like stocks. And that's great. It is definitely part of the financial markets, but it's very different in the respect that, for instance, if I want to invest, which I also have as well, I have a lot of investments portfolio, but it means that I am literally buying into somebody's company. So if I have investments in Apple, I'm technically, a part owner of Apple, obviously a very tiny one, but that's still a part of it. So I actually really care what Apple is going to be coming out with, which products, who their CEO is long term. However, with day trading, if I was trading Apple, I could care less. It's literally about that day. And Apple, if anybody does know, it does swing a lot. So just to be very clear, I do not trade stocks. There are 4 huge markets in the world. Stocks, which pretty much everybody has heard of. Forex is another very popular one. options, which is very complicated. And then there's this whole market called futures, which a lot of people know of as commodities. However, on the futures market, you could still trade indexes, which is pretty much averages of different companies. There's the S&P 500, there's the Dow Jones, which a lot of people know, the NASDAQ. It depends on which country you live in as well. There's the DAX. They're all over, right? But you can actually trade them on the futures market. I do that. I only trade the S&P 500 on the futures. I know it sounds very complicated. It doesn't, it's not a big deal. Just so I'm clear that I don't trade stocks, I invest in them. So that's actually a very important fact, because investing and day trading are very different, right? Because a lot of people, when they meet me, they're like, oh, I want to learn how to invest. And I'm like, well, you day trade to invest. You don't invest in day trade. You can't, because during the day, it's impossible to know nor care what the company is going to do in the long term. It's literally just the movements of the day. So that's a very big and very important thing to know, because it's like a job, right? You go in, you do your positions, you're in and out, and you're done for the day. And then you could take your winnings and you could invest in something that you don't even look at. I mean, I've been with Apple for 10 years. I barely look at it, right? So when it goes down and there's been a point where I've lost, I'm like, overall the company is solid. So that's investing. I got into, I guess, day trading. I've always had an interest in it since my 20s. I remember I've always been interested in it. I grew up in New York, so Wall Street, the whole hot thing with Wall Street, way before the internet age, I used to go to all these workshops. So I always had that interest. But when I turned 40 years old, that is when I decided that I just really wanted to go full on. And actually on my 40th birthday is when I joined a day trading academy. And for day trading, it's a journey. So I actually say that that's when I began my day trading journey. It's almost 8 years ago. I'm going to be 48 in in a month.
Oh, well, you look good.
So thanks. So it's been 8 years that I am completely focused on day trading, but the financial markets just been always an interest to me.
Wow, that does sound incredibly complicated as trading and investing, but let's stick with trading. Trading always does. But on the other hand, I think to myself, well, other people learn how to do it. I mean, then I'm sure I learned stuff. Why could I not learn how to do the day trading as well? So let me ask you this, and what is the risk involved? Because when people talk to you about trading, and they're like, oh, that's just so risky, and I don't know, you must be a quote unquote a gambler, and it's just like gambling. Marina, is that the same thing?
So day trading has, first, just to kind of let you know, day trading can be very simple. I know that I personally believe that these big experts or blah, blah, blahs, they just love to hear themselves talk. And a lot of times they just want to sound and talk about it way more complicated than it is. It can be incredibly simple. And I actually don't even understand 90% of what they're saying. I don't think they do. And every one of them. So that part can definitely be simplified. Day trading has a lot of stigma, because what happens is anybody can get into the financial markets. Anybody who has a little bit of money or a lot, it does not matter, could just go in and start trading or investing, whatever they want to pretend they're doing. But it's like everything else, right? If you want to be a pilot, and if you sit behind, sit in the cockpit and somehow accidentally turn that, plane on and take off, the chance of you crashing and burning, I mean, it's like 100%, right? So you would never think a pilot would do that, but people do that with day trading. So 95% of the people that actually get into the market will lose, because it is kind of like gambling. You might as well just throw, the dice at a roulette table. There's no understanding behind it. So real day traders, the ones that we hear, and you always hear this constantly, 95% fail, only 5 make it. That's because 95% don't even know what they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're literally getting behind the cockpit, accidentally somehow turning it on, maybe will take off for a second, and then usually they crash, right? So that's what happens. But those 5%, they understand that it's a job, it's a skill. So if you don't understand if you don't learn, you will burn. It's just how it goes,
Okay,
right?
hold on. I'm going to write that down. If you
So
don't learn,
it's the
you
learning
will
process.
burn. All right.
You will burn. So basically, you need to have a strategy. It really comes down to a strategy. And what a lot of academies or schools do, they start to teach you in a strategy without actually teaching you the understanding of the market, right? It's like, a good example is if you want to be a musician, if you want to be a pianist, let's pretend, it doesn't matter which musical instrument, but you sit down, you will not start playing a Beethoven sonata, or a Beethoven, I don't even know, piece, right? Is that what I call it? You would first learn how to do the do, re, mi, the scales. You go through the super beginning, right? Like, so you could even read the scales. And a lot of places, they just sell you these softwares telling you you're gonna, follow software, and that's not possible. So if you don't even understand what the market is saying to you, and the market does have a language, it's a very distinct, it's a language that you just learn, right, when you do it. And that's the reason why I would say so many people in a strategy with a very, very solid risk management, the chance of you losing, and back testing, that's another thing. Back testing is so important. And a good example of back testing, because a lot of people are like, what's back testing? A good example that I like to use is in the medical profession, right? Saw that there could be a different kind of a surgery, which is less invasive. And then now today we know it as laparoscopy.
Mm-hmm.
So if they decided to do laparoscopy and without doing any testing, any trials, any back testing, they would really mess up, right? So they actually did their work. The same for trading. You have to, if you're seeing certain trades, test them out. Test them out for, I always recommend at least 2 months worth, to see what the probability is of wins and losses. And if it's 70 or 75% wins, that's the one you want to take to the live market. So at that point, you've already cut out your chance of losing by 75%, right? So you have, you're down to 25% loss, because you know that overall 75% will win. So that cuts out a lot, but even better if you could start looking at trades that are 85 to 90%. At that point, you're winning 90% over the 10%. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but if you studied it, and if you're a conservative trader, which is what I am, it's very possible. It's completely possible. But you also have to have that patience and know, wait, this is not the right trade for me. And that's really how it all boils down to, like, your risk. You're not going to get into your car, and if it's a red light, just press go. You're going to sit and wait. And that eliminates the chance of being in an accident at that intersection, right? It's the same with trading.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense, because just like you said, a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's very risky. I don't know. It's because they don't have a strategy. They don't have a plan. And okay, so and what's interesting is that as we are taping this, we're in the middle of the COVID-19, hopefully towards the end of it, fingers crossed, of the COVID-19 quarantine time. And this is a time where a lot of people are bored. They're looking for something to study. They're looking for something new to take their attention. So is day trading something that you would suggest that, well, I mean, so sometimes you do something, but you're like, I don't suggest people do it. So is it something that you suggest that people kind of get good instruction in and also and participate in?
Yeah, actually, right now is a really ideal time because of all the time that we have in the home. So you have the time to study, right? And it's literally a lot of times I get people saying, oh, I just don't have the time to study or learn, yet they still go and donate money to the markets, right? I mean, they're still completely
Mhm.
ridiculous. So this is actually the best time because you don't need that much time to actually learn it. Once you learn it, it's like a language, right? You know certain words. Now you got to just go out there and practice. And that's the time that you can do right now is you could sit in front of the live market, but in demo mode and just practice and learn and trial and back test, which a lot of times people haven't had that. And day traders do not care if the market goes up or if it goes down. Obviously, as an economy and just overall, we don't want to see, we don't want to see crashes. But from a day trader's point of view, that makes no difference. You will make the same, if not more money when the market is going down and the same going up. So that doesn't affect a person, but having a strategy understanding, no matter what, if it's up or down, it's important, right? It's understanding when to enter those trades, when to exit those trades, and really important is when to sit out of those trades. And I'm a very big advocate of sitting out. So many people just, they don't, they're just all in all the time, just, crazy.
So here's another question that I have for you. So, do I need to be a millionaire before I get into this day trading business? Because that sounds like something some big wigs are doing, and that the rich people do, and I don't know anything about it. How many million do I have to get started with day trading? Because I'm gonna start collecting it on GoFundMe. Go ahead.
So the reality is, the reason why I also went with futures, everybody knows stocks mainly, right? And if you want to be a day trading stocks, which is equities, which is like Apple, Amazon, or, you could even go into much lower blue chips, whatever. You need to have, I think it is actually a law, and I think it's an international law. You need to have $25,000 to begin, no matter what. However, for the futures market, which is what I do, you can start with $500
Oh,
to start with, literally. So
okay.
you don't need, you definitely don't need to be a millionaire. They actually just began with this new instrument, because they're all instruments, that you can literally begin with $50. So yes, you do not, but you will not become a millionaire with 50 bucks, obviously, either. However, if you start with a 500, they're just a little bit more, you could certainly be making a very good living within a very decent amount of time. It's literally just application of the strategies and practice. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, because I know it's impolite to talk about money, but that's kind of what you're talking about today. So when you say a kind of a good living, let's talk dollars and cents, and knowing that you can't guarantee that anybody is going to make a dime. Got it. However,
Yeah.
what do people, kind of give me a ballpark and say I had that say I took my stimulus money. If I got some stimulus money and I said, I will team up with Marina. She was going to teach me how to day trade. Can you give me some round figures?
So you definitely, if you want to commit, if you're like really ready, it will take probably 3 to 6 months for you to be really live and ready to go. And then you can start to easily make between 50 to 150 per day, right? It will depend obviously on your strategy and so many mental things. It's a very big mental game, just like everything in the world really is, right? So yeah, between 50 to $150, right? Maybe like the first several months per day. And then once you start to build up your confidence, especially the strategy that I have, you don't actually have to learn to go for bigger trades. You just put more positions per trade so that you could earn more money with that. But if once you already have that strategy and you feel confident and so you could just, at that point, the sky is truly the limit once you've gotten there.
Huh. So $50 to $150 per day. And how long are you sitting in front of this computer? So when we say a day, is this I'm sitting at the computer for 8 hours, my eyes are glazed over, and I'm doing this, and I've got carpal tunnel, or what type of time are we talking, Marina?
Oh, so no, usually no more than an hour, hour and a half. So the reality is, I don't know if anybody has heard the phrase deliberate training or deliberate practice. I've actually applied it to deliberate trading, because for day trading, and especially the kind of trader that I am, is it's called a scalper. I go for small profits, so they're really quick. Like we're talking 1 to 10 minutes in a trade, in and out. So that's very high performance. It's like an athlete. If you think of an athlete at their highest performance, right? They can probably, even if we're talking like Michael Phelps, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, whomever you could think of as the best at their game, they could probably only do an hour and a half max. After that, they are completely spent. So anything after that, they are subpar. And we as traders, it's a very huge mental thing, right? Because you're sitting there, you're watching, you're analyzing, and plus your adrenaline is there because your money is on the line. You could only really manage an hour, hour and a half, and then you'll need to take like a massive break or just completely walk away, because then you go into a negative emotional, you'll go into a deficit, and then you're totally viewing it from a different way, and that's when you could lose a lot of money. So full-time traders, it depends on their strategy. If they're going for really long like sit-ins, and even then they probably take a lot of breaks. Like it's known during the trading day that lunch is usually lasts for like 2.5 hours, which is usually because people need to kind of reboot themselves and take an entire like chill out time. I don't do that. 1.5 hours is really I don't even do every day anymore. So you could decide once you get it, but there's some people that love it and hang out, for an hour and a half. And then if you still want to continue, get out of real money, go into the sim mode, which could be really hard for people. So that's why I say just walk away. It's much easier, but yes.
Oh
The
my
short story,
goodness.
about an hour and a half.
Wow, this is fascinating to me. So Marina, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned since you've been doing this day trading? You were at 40, you said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to let it go. I'm going to go and do some things differently." And so you've been day trading since then. What have you learned?
Well, interestingly enough, like I said, that day trading is really considered like a journey. And I would say almost everyone says that. It's a very challenging field. So I never ever expected that it would become my greatest master teacher, to be honest with you, of my life. It took me down a spiritual path, something that I definitely was not even expecting. So if anything, it taught me to be a better person. And I always tell people, if you have an interest or even like semi idea, or like if you have a pull to it, what it could do for you could truly make you a better person if you end up winning or losing or not even staying in it, but the lessons you'll learn with it. It's so in the moment, everything we do, like decisions we make, usually, I don't know what businesses they are, besides like a trauma surgeon, usually if you make a decision now, you won't know for real how it panned out, maybe for a couple hours or even a couple of days or even a couple of years. With day trading, you have to have a very strong decision-making muscle. And it's instant. If you made the wrong decision, you know it right there. And it could be, really, it could be, I don't want to say catastrophic, but it could be really bad. So you are taught to make good decisions. And that really is from your mental strength, I would say, and it just really is all about that. The discipline, it's a mental thing. It's been an incredible personal journey, growth, which I was never expecting ever. So it's been my greatest teacher.
Wow, that is fascinating because it sounds to me, it feels to me, I would probably need to have some, as the people would say, the nerve pills or something, like maybe the people
Yeah.
used to see in the 80s smoking all the time, or which I do not advocate any of those things. However, hopefully, I guess with a good, strong strategy, your nerves wouldn't be as bad because you either know when you hit a level, get out or get in. So, yeah, okay.
Well, no, it's set. That's the strategy.
Oh, okay. You
You
just
don't,
said it.
that's, you set it and you really don't touch it. And that's what scalping is, because there's such small profits that within like 10 minutes. But it's a very set. So that is cut out for you. You don't have to sit and make that decision. The only real decision you make is the entry. Everything else should be in place by now because that's part of your strategy.
Oh, okay then. Well then, maybe I don't need to go ahead and go to the doctor and get the nerve pills then. That sounds a little bit more
Yeah.
more even. Okay, wonderful. Marina, if somebody said, "Hey, you know what? This sounds fascinating. I really want to learn more about this." Where can they find you? How can they get in contact with you?
Oh, everything is through thetraderchick.com.
Mm.
So everything is literally just Marina, the Trader Chick. You can look me up, or just thetraderchick.com, and you could sign up for everything. You can contact me from there. Everything's right there.
Wonderful. Well, I think you've definitely sparked my interest, and I'm going to make sure that the links are in the description below here in the podcast. And I'll make sure that people will know how to get to Marina, the Trader Chick. So thank you so much. You've been a great guest.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yes.
Love to
So
meet other women in business.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's it, everyone, for this episode of Lessons in Savvy Living. Until next time, stay savvy. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.